The Earth shimmered like a blue marble against the backdrop of infinite black. From her vantage point in the Luna Command Station's observation deck, Admiral Elena Reyes could see the homeworld in all its fragile beauty: the swirling cloud patterns, the deep blue oceans, and the scattered lights of megalopolises that never slept. Humanity had expanded throughout the solar system, establishing colonies on Mars, mining operations on the asteroids, research facilities on Europa, and outposts as far as the Kuiper Belt. Yet Earth remained the jewel of human civilization, the cradle from which they had taken their first steps into the cosmos. Elena's reflection stared back at her from the reinforced glass. Her dark hair, streaked with gray, was pulled back in a tight bun, emphasizing the sharp angles of her face. 55 years old, with 27 of those spent in space, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had earned her position through merit rather than politics. As Supreme Commander of the Human Alliance, she oversaw the protection of all human interests across the solar system. "Admiral," a voice called from behind her, "the quarterly defense review is ready for your approval." Elena turned to face her executive officer, Commander Diane Wei. "Thank you, Commander. I'll review it after the council meeting." "There's something else," Wei said, her expression tense. "Long-range sensors have detected unusual activity near the Jupiter outposts. Multiple vessels of unknown configuration." Elena's spine stiffened. "First contact?" "Unlikely, ma'am. The energy signatures suggest advanced propulsion systems beyond our current understanding, but they're operating with deliberate stealth protocols. If they were friendly, why hide?" The Admiral nodded slowly. "Increase alert status across all outposts. Quietly. I want defensive systems at full capacity, but no visible changes to our routine operations. And get me a direct line to General Liu at Mars Command." "Yes, Admiral." As Wei left, Elena turned back to the view of Earth. For decades, humanity had wondered if they were alone in the universe. They had sent signals, probes, and eventually manned missions farther and farther into the void. Now, it seemed, they might have their answer, and it might not be the one they had hoped for. Little did she know that within 24 hours, everything would change. The emergency klaxons woke Elena from a fitful sleep. She was on her feet before her mind fully registered the sound, years of training overriding the fog of interrupted rest. "Admiral to Command Center," her comm unit blared. "Priority Alpha." She dressed in record time and sprinted through the corridors of Luna Command, passing personnel rushing to their battle stations. When she arrived at the Command Center, the massive holographic display dominating the central area showed a sight that made her blood run cold. 500 ships had appeared in formation around Earth. They had seemingly materialized from nowhere, bypassing all early warning systems. The vessels were sleek, almost organic in design, with hull configurations that defied human engineering principles. They formed a perfect sphere around the planet, equidistant from each other, creating an impenetrable net. "Status report," Elena barked, taking her position at the command console. "They appeared simultaneously 20 minutes ago," Strategic Officer Jameson reported. "No warning, no detected warp signatures or conventional approach vectors. They just manifested." "Communications?" "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, in perfect English. The message repeats every 60 seconds. Elena nodded to the communications officer. "Let's hear it." A deep, resonant voice filled the command center. "Attention. Species designate human. This is the Galactic Council, governing body of the 7,312 spacefaring civilizations of the Milky Way. Your species has been observed and evaluated for the past 112 of your years. The Council has determined that humanity represents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability due to your inherent aggression, resource consumption patterns, and technological development trajectory. You have been classified as a Type 3 extinction event in potentia, The Council has unanimously voted for preemptive containment. You have 48 hours to surrender all military assets and submit to Council authority. Resistance will result in immediate purification protocols. This message will repeat. Silence fell over the command center as the message ended, only to begin again a minute later. Elena reached over and muted the audio. "Analysis," she demanded, her voice steady despite the churning in her stomach. "Their technology is far beyond ours," Jameson said. "Energy readings indicate weapons capabilities that could reduce Earth to molten slag in minutes. Their defensive systems appear to include some form of advanced shield technology and possibly localized space-time manipulation. Can we fight them?" Jameson hesitated. "Conventional tactics would be ineffective, Admiral." Elena's gaze swept across the room, taking in the pale faces and wide eyes of her command staff. Fear was contagious, and she couldn't allow it to spread. "Get me a secure line to all colony governors and military commanders," she ordered. "Priority encryption protocol Obsidian. And activate the Strategic Council. We meet in 30 minutes. As her staff rushed to comply, Elena stood before the holographic display, studying the alien ships. They had made a critical error. They had given humanity time. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was making use of whatever time they had left. The Strategic Council chamber was sealed, with triple-layered security protocols and electromagnetic isolation to prevent any form of surveillance. Around the oval table sat the 12 most powerful individuals in the human alliance, the governors of major colonies, the heads of the military branches, and the chief scientists responsible for humanity's most advanced technologies. Elena entered last, the door sealing behind her with a pneumatic hiss. Without preamble, she addressed the assembly. "You've all received the briefing. An entity calling itself the Galactic Council has surrounded Earth and threatened our extinction if we don't surrender within 48 hours. I've called you here to decide our response." "We should negotiate," urged Governor Chen of the Mars colonies, a stocky man with perpetually worried eyes. "If their technology is as advanced as your reports indicate, resistance would be suicide." "Negotiate what?" General Marcus Liu countered, his weathered face set in hard lines. "Our surrender? Our enslavement? They've already decided our fate. They're just giving us time to accept it." "What about evacuation?" asked Governor Ishikawa of the Jovian moons. "We could abandon Earth, scatter our remaining population throughout the outer colonies. 500 ships can lock down the entire system," said Admiral Costa of the Outer Defense Fleet. "There's nowhere to run." Elena let them debate, watching as initial panic gave way to more reasoned analysis. Finally, when the arguments began to circle back on themselves, she spoke. "There is another option," she said quietly, and the room fell silent. "Project Inferno." The effect was immediate. Half the faces around the table registered shock, the other half careful neutrality. "Project Inferno was deemed too dangerous for implementation," objected Dr. Aisha Patel, Director of Advanced Weapons Research. "The simulations showed potential system-wide catastrophic consequences." The simulations also showed a 78% success rate against a technologically superior force, Elena countered, which is 78% better than our current alternatives. "Most of the Council doesn't even know what Project Inferno is," Governor Ishikawa pointed out. Elena nodded to her security chief, who distributed sealed data tablets to each council member. "Review the files. You have 5 minutes." As they read, expressions changed from confusion to disbelief to grim understanding. When the 5 minutes elapsed, Elena reclaimed the tablets, which immediately wiped themselves clean. "This is audacious," General Liu said, breaking the silence. "Borderline insane. But it could work," Dr. Patel admitted reluctantly. "The physics are sound, if the timing is precise." "This goes beyond conventional warfare," Governor Chen warned. "If we do this, We're crossing a line we can't uncross. Elena surveyed the room. They crossed that line when they surrounded our homeworld and threatened extinction. Now, we need to decide if we're going to accept their judgment or prove them right about our capacity for aggression. A heavy silence fell over the room. We need a formal vote, Elena said finally. All in favor of implementing Project Inferno? One by one, hands raised. Some quickly, others with visible reluctance. When the count was complete, the decision was unanimous. Then it's decided. Elena declared, Operation begins immediately. General Liu will coordinate the Black Sun phase. Dr. Patel, you'll oversee solar hammer preparations. I want hourly progress reports. Dismissed. As the council members filed out, General Liu lingered. They won't expect this, he said. Even with their advanced technology, they won't anticipate the sheer human audacity of it. Elena's expression was grim. That's what I'm counting on. Throughout the solar system, secret installations began powering up. On Mars, deep beneath the surface of Olympus Mons, fusion reactors that had lain dormant for years hummed to life. On Titan, beneath kilometers of ice, automated factories began producing specialized munitions at an unprecedented rate. On the asteroid Ceres, a stealth communications array unfurled like a massive black flower, reaching toward the stars. These facilities were part of humanity's contingency plan, a plan so secret that fewer than 50 individuals knew of its existence. For decades, while publicly advocating for peace and cooperation, the human alliance had been preparing for war on a scale never before contemplated. In her private quarters, Elena reviewed the progress reports streaming in. Project Inferno consisted of 3 phases: Black Sun, Solar Hammer, and Phoenix Protocol. Each phase built upon the last, and timing was critical. The Galactic Council had given humanity 48 hours. Elena planned to strike in 36. Her comm unit chimed. Admiral, we're receiving a request for direct communication from the Galactic Council vessel, designated Alpha. Elena straightened her uniform. Put it through to my private terminal. The screen on her desk shimmered, and an alien face appeared. It was vaguely humanoid, with mottled blue-green skin, large compound eyes, and a mouth that seemed to consist of vertical slits rather than lips. When it spoke, the mouth didn't move in sync with the words, suggesting some form of translation technology. Admiral Elena Reyes, the alien said, I am Ambassador Krithos of the Galactic Council. I wish to speak directly to the leader of humanity before time expires. Ambassador, Elena acknowledged with a nod. You've put us in a difficult position. There is no position, Admiral. There is only the inevitable. Your species has been studied extensively. Your history is one of constant warfare, environmental destruction, and unchecked expansion. Left unchecked. Simulations predict that within 300 years, you would threaten the stability of this entire galactic sector. You're condemning us for crimes we haven't committed. We are preventing those crimes from occurring, Krithos corrected. It is the most merciful approach, a quick end rather than a protracted conflict that would result in far greater suffering across multiple worlds. Elena leaned forward. And if we surrender, what happens to humanity? Your population will be reduced to sustainable levels and restricted to Earth. Your technology will be limited to prevent further space exploration. You will be monitored for the next 1,000 years, at which point your status may be reassessed. Imprisonment on our own world, Elena said flatly. Containment, Krithos countered. The alternative is extinction. The Council's decision is final. Admiral, I contacted you not to negotiate, but to urge you to spend your remaining time preparing your people for the transition. Resistance would be unfortunate. I understand completely, Ambassador, Elena said, her expression neutral. Thank you for the clarification. After the communication ended, Elena sat motionless for several minutes. Then she opened a secure channel to General Liu. "Accelerate the timeline," she ordered. "We strike in 24 hours." Wah! The first phase of Project Inferno began with precision strikes on the jump gates surrounding Earth. These massive structures, used by the Council fleet for faster-than-light travel, were their lifeline to reinforcements and retreat. Humanity had been observing them for hours, mapping their energy signatures and operational patterns. General Liu commanded the operation from the Mars Military Complex, a facility buried 2 kilometers beneath the red planet's surface. Around him, officers monitored holographic displays showing the positions of human stealth craft approaching the jump gates. "Strike teams in position," reported Colonel Vega, Liu's second-in-command. "Awaiting final authorization." Liu opened a secure channel to Luna Command. "Admiral Reyes, Black Sun is ready to commence." Elena's voice came through clearly. "You have authorization, General. Execute." Liu nodded to Colonel Vega. "All teams, execute Black Sun. Weapons free." Across the solar system, 36 stealth craft simultaneously deactivated their cloaking fields and fired specialized EMP warheads at the jump gates. These weren't conventional electromagnetic pulses, but targeted quantum disruption devices designed to scramble the exotic matter that powered the gates. On the command screens, the jump gates flickered and destabilized. Energy cascaded through their structures in chaotic patterns, creating localized distortions in space-time. 7 of the gates collapsed completely, while the others entered unstable oscillation states that rendered them unusable. "First objective achieved," Liu reported. 53% of the Council fleet is now cut off from reinforcements. "Begin Phase 2, Elena ordered. The stealth craft reactivated their cloaking fields and accelerated toward predetermined coordinates. Meanwhile, from hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt, hundreds of autonomous attack drones launched silently into space. These machines, about the size of a small car, carried no conventional weapons. Instead, they were equipped with specialized infiltration systems and data warfare packages. Their targets were the Council's manufacturing and supply facilities, massive space stations orbiting distant moons and planetoids, where resources were processed and converted into weapons and ships. Humanity had discovered these facilities months ago, but had kept the knowledge secret, preparing for this moment. The drones approached the facilities, mimicking the energy signatures of Council maintenance craft. Once docked, they deployed microscopic robots that infiltrated the station's computer systems and began sabotaging production lines, corrupting navigational data, and inserting fatal flaws into weapons blueprints. By the time the Council detected the intrusion, it was too late. Across the solar system, their supply chain began to unravel as production facilities turned out useless equipment. Navigation systems sent ships on collision courses, and communication networks broadcast corrupted data. Black Sun phase complete, General Liu reported 12 hours later. Council military effectiveness reduced by approximately 35%. Elena nodded grimly. "They'll respond soon. Prepare for counterattack." The Council's retaliation came swiftly and with devastating force. Having identified the human colonies responsible for the attacks, they targeted Io, one of Jupiter's moons, and home to 3 million colonists. The bombardment was methodical, precise, and utterly merciless. Thermonuclear weapons rained down on the settlements, followed by atmospheric incinerators that turned the very air into fire. From her command center, Elena watched the live feed with a face carved from stone. Governor Ishikawa stood beside her, tears streaming down his face as his people died by the thousands. "We evacuated 60% before the attack began," he said hoarsely. The rest are gone." Elena placed a hand on his shoulder. "They won't die in vain. The Council just made a critical error." "What error?" Ishikawa asked bitterly. "They showed us exactly what we're fighting for," Elena replied. "And they justified what comes next." She opened a system-wide communication channel. "All commands. This is Admiral Reyes. The Council has demonstrated their intentions at Io, Implement Phoenix Protocol immediately. I repeat, Phoenix Protocol is now active. Throughout the solar system, specialized weapons platforms that had remained dormant for years began powering up. These weren't conventional military installations, but last resort systems designed for one purpose: extinction-level warfare. On Mars, massive railguns emerged from beneath the red sands, their barrels longer than skyscrapers, capable of accelerating projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed. On Europa, beneath the ice, antimatter production facilities began generating the most destructive substance humans had ever harnessed. On Titan, fusion bombs with specialized cobalt jackets were loaded onto stealth delivery vehicles. These were the weapons that human leadership had deemed too horrible to use, too devastating to even acknowledge publicly. But now, with extinction as the alternative, all ethical restraints had been abandoned. The Council ships detected the activation of these systems and shifted their formation, creating a defensive perimeter around Earth, their weapons charged, preparing to neutralize the human threat once and for all. But the real threat wasn't coming from the colonies. It was already among them. For months, human infiltrators had been boarding abandoned or derelict Council vessels, planting specialized devices designed by Dr. Patel's team. These devices, no larger than a human hand, contained quantum-entangled particles linked to a central control system. When activated, they created a cascade effect that disrupted the Council's advanced shielding technology. As the Council prepared to attack, Elena gave the order. "Activate Widow's Web!" Throughout the Council fleet, the hidden devices activated simultaneously. Shield systems flickered and failed. Communication networks dissolved into static. Navigation computers displayed false data, causing ships to drift out of formation. In that moment of confusion, the human counterattack began. Railgun projectiles streaked from Mars at relativistic speeds, smashing through unshielded Council vessels. Antimatter torpedoes launched from Europa, each containing enough destructive potential to vaporize a small moon. From the asteroid belt, thousands of conventional missiles swarmed toward the disorganized fleet. The Council ships, despite their technological superiority, were caught in a perfect storm of coordinated attacks. Their formation broke apart as captains attempted to restore shields and evade incoming fire. Some managed to bring their weapons to bear, destroying human missiles and platforms. But they were fighting blind, their coordination shattered by the Widow's Web. For 6 hours, the battle raged across the Earth-Moon system. Council ships exploded by the dozens, while others retreated to defensive positions around Jupiter and Saturn. Human casualties were severe. 3 defense platforms destroyed. The Mars colony's surface installations heavily damaged. The Luna Command's outer ring breached, but humanity had survived the initial exchange. In the aftermath, Elena gathered her remaining commanders for a status report. "We've destroyed approximately 40% of their fleet," General Liu reported, his image flickering on the holographic display. "Another 20% is heavily damaged. The remainder has retreated to regroup." "And our losses?" Elena asked. "Severe, but not catastrophic. We've lost contact with the Kuiper Belt outposts. The Venus research station is gone. Mars surface installations are at 30% capacity, but the underground facilities remain operational. Titan reports minimal damage." Dr. Patel joined the conversation. "Admiral, we've analyzed the debris from the destroyed Council ships. Their technology is remarkable. The materials alone are centuries beyond our capabilities. But we've identified a critical weakness." Elena leaned forward. "Explain." "Their power systems rely on a form of zero-point energy extraction that requires perfect quantum coherence. Our analysis suggests that a sufficiently powerful electromagnetic pulse, properly calibrated to their specific frequency, could disrupt this coherence and cause catastrophic power failures." "Can we generate such a pulse?" Dr. Patel hesitated. "With conventional technology? No, but there is solar hammer." The command room fell silent. Solar Hammer was the most dangerous component of Project Inferno, a weapon so powerful that its deployment had been considered an absolute last resort. Solar Hammer requires 72 hours to prepare, Elena said. The Council won't give us that time. We've been preparing since the Council first appeared, Dr. Patel revealed. The system is at 68% charge. We need less than 24 hours to reach full capacity. Elena studied the holographic representation of the solar system, focusing on the positions of the remaining Council ships. They were regrouping, but their formation was more defensive than offensive. They had expected an easy victory and found themselves in a war. We have one chance, she decided. General Liu, I want every remaining ship and weapons platform ready to provide covering fire. Dr. Patel, accelerate Solar Hammer preparations. Our target will be the Council's central command vessel near Ankara orbit. Admiral, Liu cautioned, if Solar Hammer fails, we'll have expended our last significant offensive capability. And if it succeeds, Elena countered, we'll have broken the back of the Council's invasion force. She stood, addressing all her commanders. This is the moment that decides the fate of our species. Every human who has ever lived, every child yet to be born, depends on what we do in the next 24 hours. I need your absolute best. Dismissed. As the holographic images winked out, Elena remained in the command room, staring at the tactical display. Humanity was outnumbered, outgunned, and fighting an enemy with vastly superior technology. But they had surprise, desperation, and the ultimate motivation, survival. And soon, they would have Solar Hammer. Solar Hammer was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a weapon system built into the very fabric of the solar system itself. Its components were distributed across multiple locations, massive energy collectors orbiting Mercury, focusing arrays hidden within the asteroid belt, and a central control facility buried deep beneath the lunar surface. The concept was deceptively simple. Harness the sun's energy, focus it through a series of quantum lenses, and direct the resulting beam with such precision that it could strike a target anywhere in the solar system. The execution, however, required technology pushed to its absolute limits. Dr. Patel supervised the final preparations from the lunar control facility, her team working around the clock to bring the system to full power. The energy collectors around Mercury glowed white-hot as they absorbed the sun's radiation, converting it into a form that could be manipulated and directed. Power levels at 89%, reported Chief Engineer Suarez. Quantum alignment at optimal parameters. Target acquisition is locked. Dr. Patel nodded, her face illuminated by the holographic displays surrounding her. Begin final charging sequence. Estimated time to full capacity. 4 hours, 17 minutes. She opened a secure channel to Luna Command. Admiral, Solar Hammer will be ready in just over 4 hours. The Council is moving, Elena responded. Their remaining ships are forming a defensive perimeter around their command vessel. They know we're planning something. Can we still get a clear shot at the target? General Liu is positioning our remaining forces to create an opening. It won't last long, perhaps 30 seconds. That's your window. Dr. Patel took a deep breath. Understood. We'll be ready. As the Solar Hammer charged, the remaining human military forces prepared for what might be their final battle. Every functional ship, from massive battle cruisers to small interceptors, took up positions throughout the solar system. Their orders were simple. When the signal came, they would launch a coordinated attack on the Council fleet, creating a temporary gap in their defenses through which Solar Hammer could strike. On the Council command vessel, Ambassador Krethos received reports of the human preparations with growing concern. What had been planned as a simple containment operation had devolved into the most costly military engagement the Council had faced in 10,000 years. The humans continued to resist beyond all rational calculation. He told the assembled Council representatives, "Our losses are unprecedented. I recommend immediate deployment of our remaining ships to overwhelm their defenses before they can marshal further resistance. The humans should have broken already, objected Representative Zorax of the Pleiadian Confederation. Their technology is primitive, their numbers limited. How are they managing this level of resistance? We underestimated them, Kratos admitted. Their distributed command structure and hidden military installations have proven more resilient than our models predicted, and they fight with a desperation that borders on the suicidal. Then we must increase the pressure, declared Representative Moore of the Arcturus Dominion. Target their remaining population centers. Once they see that resistance only increases their suffering, they will surrender. Kratos hesitated. That approach may backfire. Human psychology responds to threats against their population with increased aggression, rather than submission. I believe. An alarm interrupted him, as sensor operators detected a massive energy buildup in the inner solar system. What is happening? Demanded Moore. Unknown, replied the sensor chief. Energy readings are off the scale, centered around the human colony on Mercury. Patterns suggest some form of directed energy weapon, but the magnitude is impossible for their technology level. Kratos felt a chill of apprehension. Redirect all defensive systems to maximum power. Prepare for... He never finished the sentence. At that moment, across the solar system, every human military vessel launched a simultaneous attack on the Council fleet. It was not a strategic assault, but a sacrificial one. Ships deliberately ramming Council vessels, pilots ejecting at the last moment as their craft became kinetic weapons. The Council's defensive formation faltered under the onslaught. Ships broke formation to engage the human attackers, creating gaps in their previously impenetrable screen. And through one of those gaps, Solar Hammer fired. From Mercury, a beam of concentrated solar energy, focused through quantum lenses and accelerated to near light speed, streaked across the void. It struck the Council command vessel with perfect precision, bypassing its weakened shields and penetrating to its core. The energy release was catastrophic. The command vessel didn't simply explode, it disintegrated at the atomic level, the superheated plasma of its remains expanding outward in a blinding sphere that engulfed nearby Council ships. Throughout the solar system, Council vessels suddenly lost coordination as their central command structure collapsed, their integrated network shattered by the destruction of its hub. In the Solar Hammer control facility, Dr. Patel watched the energy readings spike and then flatline as the weapon discharged its accumulated power. The massive collectors around Mercury glowed dull red, then began to cool. Their task complete. Target destroyed, she reported, her voice hoarse with exhaustion. Solar Hammer is depleted. Recharge time estimated at 17 days. On Luna Command, Elena received the news with grim satisfaction. Begin Phase 3. All commands. Implement Phoenix Protocol. Throughout the solar system, human forces pressed their advantage against the disorganized Council fleet. Without central coordination, the alien ships fought as individual units, their previous tactical superiority evaporating. Some attempted to retreat through the few functioning jump gates, only to find those routes blocked by human minefields deployed during the initial confusion. For the next 48 hours, the battle devolved into a series of isolated engagements, as human forces methodically targeted and destroyed Council vessels one by one. The aliens fought valiantly, their superior technology still making them formidable opponents, but they lacked the coordinated strategy needed to counter the human offensive. By the third day, nearly 80% of the Council fleet had been destroyed or disabled. The remainder, recognizing the futility of continued resistance, had gathered near Saturn, powering down weapon systems in what appeared to be a gesture of surrender. Elena, who had not slept for nearly 72 hours, finally allowed herself to sit, accepting a cup of coffee from Commander Wei. "We've won," Wei said softly. "I still can't believe it." Elena shook her head. We've survived the first wave, but the Council spans thousands of worlds. This was just their local response team. But we've proven we can fight them. Yes, Elena agreed. And more importantly, we've proven we can hurt them. That changes the equation. She opened a communication channel to the remaining Council ships. This is Admiral Elena Reyes of the Human Alliance. Your fleet is defeated. Your command structure destroyed. We offer you the opportunity to surrender and be treated according to the laws of war. For several minutes, there was no response. Then a transmission came through, showing a Council alien different from Krythos, older, judging by the deeper coloration of its skin and the clouded appearance of its compound eyes. I am Sub-Commander Trelax, the alien said. With the death of Ambassador Krythos and the Command Council, I am the senior surviving official. I am authorized to discuss terms of cessation of hostilities. Not surrender, Elena asked. The Galactic Council does not surrender, Trelax replied stiffly. But we recognize that continued conflict at this time serves neither of our interests. Elena smiled thinly. Very diplomatic. Here are our terms. All Council ships will withdraw beyond the orbit of Neptune. You will provide us with full technical specifications of your jump gate technology, and you will arrange a meeting between Human Alliance representatives and the full Galactic Council to negotiate a permanent peace. Those terms are unexpected, Trelax said after a pause. We anticipated demands for technology transfer, weapon systems, possibly even territorial concessions. We don't want your weapons, Elena said. We've demonstrated that we can develop our own. What we want is recognition, acknowledgement that humanity has earned its place among the spacefaring civilizations of this galaxy. Trelax's compound eyes seemed to shift, an alien expression that Elena couldn't interpret. I will convey your terms to my superiors. But be warned, Admiral, the Council is vast, and not all its members will accept this outcome. Some will demand retribution. Then remind them what happened to the first fleet they sent, Elena replied coolly. And suggest they review the records of this engagement very carefully before they make that decision. After the communication ended, Commander Wei approached Elena. Do you think they'll honor the agreement? I think they'll calculate the cost of continuing this war and decide that negotiation is the more rational choice, Elena answered. And if they don't, well, Solar Hammer will be recharged in 14 days, and Dr. Patel has some ideas for improving its efficiency. Wei nodded. I'll coordinate with the remaining colonies to begin recovery operations. The Mars facilities need immediate attention, and Titan reports significant damage to their life support systems. Prioritize civilian infrastructure, Elena ordered, and begin salvage operations on the disabled Council ships. Dr. Patel's team will want to study their technology in detail. As Wei left to implement these instructions, Elena returned to the observation deck, gazing once more at the Earth. The planet appeared unchanged, its blue oceans and white clouds serene against the blackness of space. But everything else had transformed. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged not just surviving, but victorious. They had proven themselves capable of standing against the most powerful force in the galaxy. The cost had been terrible. Millions dead, colonies destroyed, infrastructure shattered. The rebuilding would take decades, but humanity would rebuild. Stronger and more united than before, with new knowledge and technologies salvaged from their defeated enemy. And next time the Galactic Council came, humanity would be ready. 1 year later, Elena stood in the newly constructed Earth Observation Dome, watching as diplomatic shuttles approached the station. The dome, built on the ruins of the old Luna Command, destroyed during the war, symbolized humanity's new perspective, outward-looking, vigilant, but open to peaceful exchange. Beside her stood Ambassador Talon, formerly a linguistics professor, who had quickly distinguished himself during the initial attempts to communicate with the captured council members. "Nervous?" Elena asked him. Talon adjusted his formal diplomatic sash. "Terrified. I'm about to negotiate with representatives of 7,000 civilizations, any one of which could probably still annihilate us if they decided to combine their forces." "But they won't," Elena said confidently, "because we've shown them the cost of that approach. Today isn't about preventing another war, Talon. It's about making sure they understand that we've earned our place at the table." The airlock cycled, and the first of the council representatives entered the dome. There were 12 of them, representing the major species within the Galactic Council. Some resembled Krythos and Tralax, with mottled skin and compound eyes. Others were more exotic, beings of crystalline structure, entities that seemed to shift between gaseous and solid states, and organisms that appeared to be colonies of smaller creatures functioning as a single intelligence. Tralax led the delegation, his posture formal but not hostile. "Admiral Reyes, Ambassador Talon, the Council delegation is prepared to begin negotiations for the Nova Treaty." Elena nodded in acknowledgement. "We've prepared the Earth Observation Dome as a neutral venue, as agreed. The proceedings will be transmitted to all human colonies and, I understand, to the Council Central Worlds as well." "Indeed," Tralax confirmed. "This is an historic occasion, the first time in 8,000 years that the Council has negotiated as equals with a species previously designated for containment." "We're honored to be the first," Elena said dryly. "Though I suspect our methods of changing that designation were somewhat unorthodox." A sound emerged from one of the crystalline entities, something like laughter, though the translation systems struggled to convey it properly. "The Council has existed for millennia by adapting to new realities," the entity said, its voice resonating through the translation system with harmonic overtones. "Humanity has created a new reality that cannot be ignored. Your species achieved in days what others could not in centuries. You broke the Council's military arm and forced a reassessment of our most fundamental policies." Talon stepped forward. "Then let us formalize that reassessment. The Human Alliance proposes a treaty based on mutual recognition, technological exchange, and security cooperation. We seek neither to dominate nor to isolate, but to join the galactic community as full and equal members." As the negotiations began in earnest, Elena gradually withdrew, leaving Talon and his team to handle the diplomatic details. Her role, the warrior who had led humanity through its darkest hour, was giving way to a new phase of interstellar relations. But she remained vigilant, watching the proceedings with careful attention. During a recess, Tralax approached her in a quiet corner of the dome. "You could have destroyed us all," he said without preamble. "After Solar Hammer demonstrated its effectiveness, you could have targeted our remaining ships one by one. Yet you offered terms instead. Why?" Elena considered the question carefully. "Because extermination wasn't our goal. Survival was. Once we'd proven we could survive your attack, continuing the slaughter would have been unnecessary." "Some would call it weakness," Tralax observed. "Others would call it wisdom," Elena countered. "We wanted to show you that humans are not what you believed us to be. Yes, we can fight with unmatched ferocity when our existence is threatened. But we can also show restraint in victory and good faith in peace." Tralax's compound eyes studied her. The Council's assessment of humanity was simultaneously correct and profoundly wrong. Your capacity for violence exceeded even our most pessimistic projections. Yet your capacity for reconciliation was entirely absent from our models. "Perhaps that's something we can teach each other," Elena suggested. "You can help us understand the wider galaxy, and we can help you understand that categorizing species as threats based on their potential rather than their actions leads to self-fulfilling prophecies." "A fair exchange," Tralax agreed, "though not all council members will embrace this perspective immediately." Change takes time, Elena acknowledged. But we have time now. That's what we fought for. Not just to survive today, but to have a tomorrow. The negotiations continued for 7 days, with debates ranging from technical discussions of territorial boundaries to philosophical explorations of interspecies ethics. Finally, on the 8th day, the Nova Treaty was ready for signing. In the Earth Observation Dome, with the blue marble of humanity's homeworld serving as backdrop. Elena and Talon represented the human alliance, while the 12 council delegates represented their respective civilizations. The treaty, written in 17 languages including Standard Earth English, established the Terran Alliance as a recognized interstellar power with defined territories, rights, and responsibilities within the galactic community. As Elena signed her name to the document, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders. From this moment forward, humanity would never again be alone in the universe. They had earned their place among the stars through fire and blood, but would maintain it through wisdom and cooperation. The ceremony concluded with an exchange of symbolic gifts, human representatives presenting the council delegates with artifacts representing Earth's diverse cultures, while the council representatives offered technological devices that would help humanity begin to bridge the development gap between their civilizations. Later, as the council ships departed from the Earth-Moon system, Elena stood once again at the observation window, watching their exotic forms diminish into the distance. Commander Wei joined her, now promoted to Admiral following the reorganization of the Human Alliance fleet. "So that's it," Wei said. "We're officially part of the galactic community." "With all the benefits and complications that entails," Elena agreed. "The technology they've shared will accelerate our development by centuries. The cultural exchange will transform human society in ways we can barely imagine, and the security guarantees will protect us from other potential threats in the galaxy." "Do you trust them?" Wei asked bluntly. Elena smiled. "Trust requires verification. That's why we're maintaining all our defense systems, continuing to develop Solar Hammer, and establishing monitoring outposts throughout our territory. Peace doesn't mean naivety." "And what about you?" Wei inquired. "The Council has specifically requested that you serve as humanity's first representative to the Galactic Assembly on Centauri Prime." Elena turned from the window to face her friend. "I've spent my entire adult life preparing for war. Diane, I'm not sure I'm the right person to build peace." "That's exactly why you're the right person," Wei countered. "You understand the cost of war better than anyone. And the Council respects you. They fear you. Yes. But they also recognize your judgment. When you opted for negotiation rather than annihilation, you proved yourself to be the kind of leader they can work with." Elena was silent for a long moment, considering. Finally, she nodded. "I'll accept the position, but I want you to continue the military readiness programs we've established. Peace is wonderful, but it prospers under the protection of vigilant defenders." "Always," Wei promised. Together, they watched as the last council ship disappeared into the distance, activating its jump drive in a flash of exotic energy. The solar system was quiet once more, but it was no longer isolated. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible, by defeating the undefeatable, by surviving the unsurvivable. The Galactic Council had declared war on humanity, intending to contain or destroy what they saw as a dangerous emerging species. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant and forced it to develop weapons and strategies that would forever change the balance of power in the galaxy. They had come to burn humanity's potential before it could threaten them. In response, humanity had burned bright enough to illuminate the entire galaxy, announcing not just their refusal to be extinguished, but their determination to shine among the stars. As Elena prepared for her new role as diplomat rather than warrior, she carried with her the knowledge that had guided her through the darkest days of the war. Humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons or their technology, but their boundless capacity to adapt, to innovate, and to emerge stronger from adversity. The Galactic Council had learned this lesson at tremendous cost. The rest of the galaxy would now learn it through cooperation and exchange. Either way, the message was clear. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they were here to stay.